What's up, everybody? Hey, hey. Hello, everybody. How's it going? This working? Cool. Hi. It's been a really long time since I've done this. Look how pretty it is. Not really. Hi, everybody. Wow, it's been a long time. I really deprioritized this. So I was busy with making excuses, and a lot's changed in my life, as in majority of how I spend my days has changed. I changed jobs, and I'm really excited about this new opportunity. I'm still remaining in tech sales. I just am obviously leaving my company, which I've been at for like 2 years and some change. So pretty crazy, like looking back and reflecting on this. And I'd never felt more guilty in my entire life. The moment when I had to tell my previous manager, well, still current, because I have one more week of working, that I was leaving the company, something that I had thought about doing many a times while being here. But for it to actually be true, I felt so guilty. And I'm not normally really nervous for things that are like high stakes or high pressure. I mean, I am, I'm a normal human being, but I was so nervous for this because I just felt like I was doing something wrong at the end of the day. But so I said that, I said my piece, and I am moving over to a company called Grafana. And if anybody's interested, I don't really want to get into the details here because it's like even nerdier and techier than Amplitude, which is like an analytics company. Grafana is observability. So basically why I moved was I had a champion at that company who I worked with previously at Amplitude, who completely vouched for me the entire interview process. We had always stayed closely connected. And this is really where relationships come into a play in your career, like those that you, and I'm not talking about like you have to be friends with everybody, but like those that you connect with, like stay close to them when they leave, like get their phone number, reach out to them. So me, especially when I'm leaving Amplitude, I've sent everybody that I care about my phone number. I'm like, reach out, would love to see you in the future. Like, let's not be strangers to one another, because people leave lasting impressions on you. And if you spend a significant amount of time with these individuals, like, one, I would hope that you would like some of them, and B, and two, why only why like let them go if you leave the job? And it's crazy to think that like you won't be at that one company forever, but it's true. Like you won't. And it's only been 2 years, 2.25 years at Amplitude, but it really feels like 10. So anyways, this, my friend, my now coworker again, had really vouched for me for this process. It was a pretty intense, like 7 interview situation, and got increasingly serious, as most interview processes do over time, but really like took it out of me. And I was just feeling so drained by my current role. I think it's once you feel you have one foot out the door, so desperately wanting to just kick the door down, you can't. It just took a lot out of me. So I deprioritized a lot of things that I also care about, like this. So I currently have about 2 weeks of PTO, essentially. I mean, I put my 2 weeks in last Friday and contemplated like taking a vacation, but one, if I ever am going to do a solo vacay, because that's what this would have to be, I would want to be more thoughtful with it and not as like spontaneous of like, oh, let's just fly to Aruba and do this. And I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow, and nobody talks about what the fuck. That's weird. Well, anybody watching these videos will see that. What the fuck was that? Somebody watching this? Anyways, it's a tough pill to swallow when you're traveling alone, and I'm like so weirded out right now. Okay, hopefully whoever you are, get off, please leave me alone. When, for those of you not watching, a thumbs up just popped up on the screen. It's so weird. So I don't know for any of you that have traveled alone, and I guess this isn't something that's spoken about because it's more like a it's an ideal. It's like, oh wow, like you should go travel alone and go wherever you want and do something alone, like some eat, pray, love situation. Nobody talks about the fact that you're not splitting these costs with anyone. Like the hotel, which typically is like the largest cost, is expensive. Like these hotels are like 3K. I'm like, wait, first of all, I'd rather have a piece of jewelry. And second of all, it's more than my rent. Like me just absorbing that cost. And I don't want to stay in hostels. So maybe traveling alone isn't really in the cards for me in terms of the way that I want to um live or the way that I want to travel. Guys, it's literally chaos. My alarm for my nap that I already took is going off. Stop. Um, whoa. Chaotic. Um, okay, thank God we're still recording. So yeah, I'm just chilling in New York. Honestly, I had been traveling a bit for work before, which that was painful knowing I was like traveling for my old job and I knew I was getting a different job. I was like, this fucking sucks. I really don't want to be doing this right now. But a lot of things in life you have to do even though you don't want to. So I'm just hanging out in New York. I'm like running silly errands, like bopping around Soho. I got a New York license today. Oh my God, I'm actually pretty pumped. I did not intend on getting a New York license at all. I was convinced out of it by my California people out here being like, no, don't get it, don't convert. But I ultimately have to because unknowingly on my birthday party, of which I could talk about too, that I did with my BFF in New York, Bev, I was walking into the bar that we, okay, what the fuck? Get out of here. Guys, this is weird. Why does it keep doing that? I'm just gonna hope it's a little error thing. So, ew, ugh, the thumbs up came back again, guys. I'm walking into the bar and I hand over my license and the bartender or the bouncer goes, your license expired 3 days ago. I'm like, whoa, thank you so much. So the woman that I feel like I'm on top of everything, like I have a notification for when I need to get my passport renewed, because for those of you who don't know, you can't travel if your license, if your passport's going to expire within 6 months, I think even a year. And the application process is pretty tedious to get a renewal of it. So you have to start these processes a year in advance. And I don't know if this is a known thing or if it is kind of a secret, but it would be good to set a notification for when a year before your passport expires so you can get on getting that renewal. So I was like, whoa, thank you, sir. And immediately, like the following days, I have Dylan. I'm like, Dylan, text me that I need to renew my license. Like, this is like my ADHD. I'm like, I know I will forget. So he texted me. And then the following like couple days, I ordered one to California. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, we're just gonna hang out with the liking thumbs. This is, oh, is it when I do that? No, no. Okay, okay. Oof. Um, so I apply for another one and it gets sent to my address in California. And I'm like, okay, great. That was not the plan because it got sent to my Midvale apartment from UCLA, of which my mom can simply drive and go get it for me and ship it to me. But that's just like so much work. And most importantly, I really wanted to retake my photo, hence why I have like a little makeup on today because I just did not. I don't know if any of you like just hate your photos after you take them, but I was wearing like an ugly sweater and it looked like I have a soccer jersey on. It's just gross. And I'm like, I gotta retake this. I think I had my Invisalign in too, so it just had to get redone. So I bopped on down to the DMV today, just doing things that I know when I start work would be way harder. Buying a lot of things, of course, spending money going to a Chinese massage like every day. That's so fun though. Like, oh my God, I love getting rubbed. I had the guy like literally rub the crap out of my head and my face because I feel like I hold a lot of like stress in my eyebrows, which is odd. And my head is literally bruised because he went so ham on my noggin, drilling so hard with his fingers. He like they have the strongest hands, I swear. And I kept telling myself like, oh, he's hitting a point. Like he knows like that's like a point in like my vagus nerve and stuff like that. I don't actually know if he had any idea where he was hitting, but I felt like he had a sense of like where energetically to press. And I just kind of let him ride with it and kind of squealed in pain at times. But yeah, I don't think my head should be bruised, but it's okay. It felt really good at the time. Kind of most of the time was relaxing because I like love to get my face like really like push hard on my face. Um, so I've just really been enjoying my life and just, it's nice to get paid and not actually have to work and say my goodbyes. It's bittersweet, but it's more sweet, man. I'm not sure I can say this about all the jobs I'll have. Like, obviously, this is the first job I've had out of college, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity it's provided for me and it's created for me. But it feels really right and really good to be moving on to what's next. Like, I feel like this is really natural for me right now. So, besides that, what did I want to share? What did I want to share? Oh, well, there was one story about I forget what I was trying to tie this into, but I recently went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming with my sisters and my dad. We kind of try to do a dad-daughter trip with my obviously dad. I have two older sisters. For those of you who are new here, I am the youngest of three. I have an older sister, Megan, and a middle sister, Lauren, and they both live in San Francisco. Megan has the cutest freaking child on earth. His name's Callum. And they all live in San Francisco. My mom lives in Long Beach. My dad lives in Vegas and Costa Rica. And my parents separated when I was like 11. So, and I have two step siblings. I have a stepmom. I have the whole situation. And my dad, and because as we've gotten older, actually, it's been easier, I'd say, to spend time together than when I was in high school. College, probably no, but when I was in high school, we were all so busy. But as we've gotten older, I feel like we are really intentional about like planning these trips. So my sisters and my dad and I made a pact that, we need to spend quality time with one another. And we plan these like dad-daughter trips. And last year was Aspen, which was epic. And now like everybody and their mom is going to freaking Aspen. And we always try to say like, oh, we did it, like we started it, which is so not true. But ironically though, when we would go on these family vacations with my dad, the Kardashians would go to the same place the following year. Or they would have, or if they had filmed the following year, they would be in the same country we were at the same time, like Thailand and Bali, and London, like all these trips. All of a sudden, we'd see Kardashians there. We're like, they're following us. No, they're not. Um, so we went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and this is actually a crazy story, but I was flying from Newark to Jackson Hole direct, amazing. And I got to the airport, relatively on time, had my big old bag, my big old pink bag, because I had to fly to San Francisco after for work. This was like a month ago. I was boarding group like 4, and I'm waiting to board, and they call all the groups, and I'm like, you know what? Seems crowded. I'll just like hang out, do a little work, and then I'll get on the plane. Like I have one small bag. They were asking for volunteers to check their bags for like a $2,000 stipend and like stay overnight for the next day's flight because there's only one flight out of Newark a day at 9 in the morning. They were asking for volunteers, and obviously nobody said shit because that nobody ever says anything. And so I'm like, okay, whoa, okay, everybody's already boarded. Let's run up to the front. So I run up, and there's one woman in front of me, and then a few women like scurry behind me, and it's just all us girls. And the woman who is tagging the tickets leaves and goes to the plane, gets on her like walkie-talkie bullshit, all of a sudden closes the door to the gate entirely and comes to the entrance where you would scan and a door would automatically open. And she's like, we cannot accommodate you on this flight. It is too heavy. And she's speaking to the girl in front of me, only to the girl in front of me. And the girl's like, wait, what? She's like, what do you mean? I can't get on this flight? And she said, we cannot accommodate you on this flight. It is too heavy. We have reached our weight capacity. We cannot accommodate you. And she's speaking directly at her. So I popped my head over and I was like, wait, does that mean I can get on? And she goes, no, everyone. And I'm like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? So I guess because skis, ski gear, ski boots, that shit's so heavy that the reason why they were asking for these volunteers is because didn't know how much weight they would be taking on in the plane. And even though they have to disperse the weight, it was overall too dispersed. And then I was like, wait, so somebody's is sitting in my seat right now? Like, this isn't fair. And they're like, no, the flight has already reached its capacity. Nobody's in your seat. We just can't accommodate you because it's too heavy. I'm like, okay, well, pull some things off. Send the bags later on. Take my bag off. My bag's huge. Like my bag is almost my body weight. So no, no. But it was as heavy as I could, 60 pounds or whatever. So yeah, not even close to my body weight. But I was like, take some bags off. Like get on there and ask for people to come on, like send their bags on the next day's flight. So this us 5 young women can get on the flight. And she's like, we can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And then me and the 3 girls behind me like made a pact. We were all giggling and laughing like they were meeting to some guys for a guys girls trip in Wyoming. The girl in front of me was nothing but business. She's like, you are putting me on tomorrow's flight at 9 a.m. and I'm going to Jackson Hole. And she got the last fucking seat, but it ended up working better for all of us. So we're all giggling eventually after tears, after some like aggressive statements. Cause of course the people at the desk are like not helpful and like not, they don't really care. And we were like men and women we're like women and children first. Peel the men off. Get on there, get a spokesperson. I'll be the spokesperson. I was pitching myself. I'll get on there. I'll plead to them. Hi, guys, we have us 5 young women who can't get on this plane because all of our bags and skis, etc., is too heavy. Like, would any of you guys be willing to send at least your luggage for tomorrow's flight? It'll get there so you can accommodate the bodies. Like, we would really appreciate that. And they were like, no, we can't do that. We were like, women and children first. So that sucked. I had to fly to Denver and then Denver to Jackson Hole. And my bag got there. My bag got there. No problem. So Megan and Lauren picked it up from the airport for me. And then I got there that evening. So I ended up getting there same day, just like a hell of a travel day. But there was a story about Jackson Hole that I wanted to share with you that was crazy. Well, anyways, if you guys are good skiers, holy macaroni, Jackson Hole is like intense skiing. I'm no advanced skier by any means, but I can do semi-advanced runs. My dad's really good. Megan and Lauren are probably a notch behind me a little bit, but I can go really fast just with bad form. And it's the steepest mountain I've ever skied in my life. So there was a lot of screaming in my helmet. Like, you just gotta like relieve, like you're like all of a sudden you start going so fast, you're like, but great skiing. They got epic snow one day and the whole mountain shut down because the people who come to maintain the mountain and like shoot off the air to create avalanches to like what's it called, groom the mountain in the mornings after snowfall, they couldn't even pass the bridge because there had been so much snow and so much ice that the whole bridge was closed because they live in another part of Wyoming or somewhere else. So nobody could come groom the mountain. There wasn't enough manpower, so they had to close the whole mountain for one day. And then yeah, but Jackson Hole is awesome. It's probably gonna be the new Aspen. It already is getting there very easily. But yeah, I really have no idea why I brought that up, but I know there was a reason that I'm forgetting now. Anyways, what I wanted to talk about today was something that I've been observing over time and something I think I've just like been absorbing as a kid and as a young adult and as an adult now. I mean, I'm 25. God. People are like, she's a quarter of a century. I'm like, shut up. You're just trying to make yourself feel younger. 25 is still so young, but it's getting to the point where it's like, marriage and those types of things start to be more realistic conversations a little bit. And that's like really intimidating because I don't know, I have moments to myself like where I literally could bring myself to tears about thinking of my childhood and thinking of just being like 6-year-old Faith and so pure and so innocent and so lively and vivacious, with not a care in the world, and just like some spontaneous memory will pop into my head of like swimming at Ladera Rec with Emma Rafter and Megan Matthews and all those girls, or like jumping on my trampoline in my childhood home, or like just random memories just get triggered in my head, or like, I don't know, this sounds stupid, but some TikToks, like Lauren sent me some TikTok that completely unlocked a memory in my brain of when we would go to hotels and we would play that game where you would fall back on the bed and you'd use the mattress to like spring your body back up. And I just remember doing that like a maniac. It's a really hard thing to describe. You'd have to know, you have to see it to know what I'm talking about. But that unlocked memory, I was like, oh my God, the things we used to do to entertain ourselves. It is so unbelievable. And I don't think I give myself enough credit or take the time to like really reflect on my life and think like how far I've come, and not like saying that, oh my gosh, like my upbringing was so challenging, my life so challenging. It really wasn't, but just to like the things that I've done, and even reflecting on the memories at UCLA, like my life is so drastically different from that. My life at UCLA was so drastically different from my life in high school. My life in high school was drastically different from my life in middle school, or not so much, but in each, now I feel like in my adult phases of life, the changes are so much more big. They're so much bigger. They, I don't know. And so it's, I mean, I still probably haven't properly thought about like how far I've come and that I live in New York and how cool it is. Like I really don't, I moved too quick for that. And I honestly don't know how you would reflect. Like that's a hard thing for me to comprehend, of like reflection, reflecting on your life. Like, is it just like a thought, you think about it and then you move on? Or is it you really ponder, you journal, you question? But yeah, like I am a very nostalgic person, and I'll like think of things and I'm like, oh my, I can feel it like in my chest and in my heart. I'm like, I literally remember feeling that way and being in that situation like it was yesterday. Or I'll be like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I didn't remember that until now. Like I wish my body and my brain had let me remember that. But now that I have remembered these things, hopefully they'll pop up later on. New ones will come in, but it's just crazy. Life moves at the speed of light sometimes, and it really is true. The older you get, the quicker time moves because you've lived longer. So your days feel shorter, your years feel shorter, your months feel shorter because you've lived long. Whereas like when you're 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, like the days feel really long because you haven't existed for that long. You truly don't know or have fathomed like what 24 hours in a day feels like. So now that I get older, I feel there's a constant tension between wanting the day to speed up and then wanting the day to slow down. And specifically in this birthday, I like really had a moment where I was like, I just want time to stop. Like, can it please just stop for a second? Can I please just figure out a way to savor being 25, 24, 23, 22 years old in New York? Like, I think I moved here when I was 22, which is just like crazy and could make me cry, like not even knowing when I moved because it's been that long. But life really moves at the speed of light. And I'm trying to find the clicker to slow down or pause, but I don't think I will. And I don't know. It's sad, but it's also just the way things go. And I don't, I want to be better at when I turn like 30 or 35, like being like, oh, I'm ready for it. And I don't know if you'll ever be ready for turning a certain age, but I want to look back and be like, oh, 25-year-old Faith really knew how good she had it, or how she had it then. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying, but let me know if anybody finds the clicker to turn this down and pause this life, because it would be nice to slow down for a minute and just not feel like I'm getting older. I don't want to get older. Um, but something that's been on my mind recently is I've been thinking about the differences between males and females, and just the energy that a male and a female bring to the table and bring to a room energetically, spiritually, emotionally, physically. Maybe this is top of my mind because like as I'm interviewing, like obviously I'm a woman. Well, that was so dumb, but obviously I'm a woman. But I was interviewing at this company that I got hired at, and it was a lot of men. And a lot of tech sales in general seems like a lot of male dominance. Like Megan, my older sister, who's also in this field, she told me this. But I just was recognizing like in all these interview processes, there was not a single woman. I didn't talk to a single woman. And I was trying to think about like, okay, how am I as a female coming across via Zoom? So even more challenging. And you can question that even further of like, okay, how am I coming across? Like, you'll never know how you are seen ever. Like, that's just never something that you're going to figure out. it's always how you're perceived. Like you may think that you can come across a certain way and it can be captured by somebody else completely differently. Like you could be saying a sentence and somebody could say, "Oh wow, she was actually really rude and direct," when you were like, "Oh no, I actually thought I was like providing information to you and like helping you." So I'm constantly thinking in the interview process of like the psychology of like male female dynamics, me as a female, what am I bringing to the table? And there's quite a few things that I feel is the difference between males and females. And one thing I've noticed is males really do take things at face value. Like when you say things, they they're able to kind of remove the emotion from it. So for me, I'm able to be quite direct and yeah, just like direct and straightforward and it not come across as like bossy or rude to many of the males that I've interacted with in my life because they're looking for just that the information of what you're saying, not actually for the what emotions behind it per se. It's more the content. Whereas a woman, I felt, and this is also just the dynamic that I have between me and my manager at my past company, Amplitude, it was much more like she'd hear the emotion behind what I was saying. And like with my friendships too, a lot of the conversations we have, it's not necessarily like the information that we're supplying, but it's, if we're in a really silly, goofy mood, if we're in like oh, let's like get down to business, get shit done mood, that is infectious and that carries over to how your girlfriend will interact with you. Whereas a male, like you can come like really bubbly and elated, and that can only go so far. Like, yeah, naturally, if you're a super bubbly electric person, like you can lift people up. But I feel if a woman's that way to a male, it can kind of lift them up, but then they just go back to normal and they're like, okay, let's like why like what else are we or what are you talking about? Like, do you have something of value to bring to the table? Where women, the value comes in the way that you present yourself and the way that you communicate with others. So that was an immediate notice. And this whole, why I think about this is because you truly do need males and females to exist in this world. Like we would literally go batshit crazy if it was just women, and the men would be absolutely useless, helpless, have no idea what the fuck's going on if it was just them. So I think it's really important to, especially in these like still these eras, especially with like Barbie and everything, where it's like, oh, women, like poor us, like yeah, our life arguably is quite more difficult just physically than males. I don't know if I'd say emotionally because I can't see into their brains, but physically, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like we have to carry children and, you know, we feel things more emotionally, but I think it's easy to get spun up in this narrative of, oh, men suck, like blah, blah, blah. But no, we need men just as much as men need us. It's like truly the situation and we balance each other. We're the yin, the yang. And then obviously we love the trans community too. I personally am still figuring out where they would fit. I don't have a lot of experience, so I can't speak to that per se. But it's just solely speaking of men and female dynamics today. But I will say, when I swam at UCLA and we only had a women's team, holy macaroni, we were batshit. Like it was not a very cohesive environment. Girls were turning against one another. It was pretty chaotic. And I'd always think to myself, I'm like, if we had a male team, it would divert our energy somewhere else that wouldn't be on one another. And we wouldn't be as possessive or controlling or mean because we would be focused on guys. And I still believe that to this day that a male team would have balanced us out. But um, whatever, that it is what it is. And going back to male and female differences and similarities too, is women, well, I do like to say that women can survey a room better because, okay, well, I will say, I'll start with this. Women have better intuition with their body, with their physical body, like knowing, am I safe? Am I in danger? Am I hungry? Am I whatever? Like I would argue, are more physically in tune with ourself because, I mean, if you just think primitively and biologically, women have to bear children. And so naturally, if you are not only having to protect yourself, but now you're having to think to protect two, another person in you, like you're absolutely going to be more in tune with your body and understanding, okay, how can I create the least resistance and the least stress of where I am to ensure that my child be can grow naturally. And so I think that plays over into, I mean, maybe you could even say that you start to really, as a woman, you really start to adopt this like in your 19, 18 or 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, like where years ago women were having children when they were that young. So maybe it doesn't take like right when you have your period to have this, but it's more of an evolution of right during those still where we're genetically primed to have babies, we start to really tap into this. Okay, where is my situation? How is my body feeling? Um, you tap into that, and then maybe it's around like 23, 24, and 25 for me that you start to be able to communicate this clearly and not only feel it, but be able to like sense it and talk about it. So I would say women are much better in these situations of that sense, being able to just come back to our body and our senses and be like, okay, am I comfortable here? Like, does this feel right? Like, I feel we can walk into a room and immediately know there's danger or not. So, whereas a male, they're more impulsive. They don't think to survey, but when there's danger, it's more like if it's right in front of them. Like when there's danger, they can act primitively. Whereas probably for me, I'd be like, I don't know what to do. Like I saw it coming, but I'm scared. Too much adrenaline. Whereas a man, they may have not seen it coming, but when it comes, like they can act instinctually and primitively and get to safety. But they're on the clouds before that. So I thought that was an interesting observation of mine, that I feel that women are just naturally more inclined into their intuition. Men are more fact-based, women are more emotional based. And just like the physical energy that women and men bring to situations, I mean, it's different because obviously when you're one woman walking into a room of men, like your energy isn't powerful enough no matter how hard you try to be electric, because then you're just overdoing it. Your energy isn't enough, isn't it doesn't amount to the male energy in there. And that's just the way it is. And you don't want to draw so much attention to yourself to make it like assert your dominance in that sense. Like I think there always is a weird sensation that I feel personally, like when I walk into a room of men of like, okay, well, I got to show them that they can't fuck with me. Like, this is it. I don't want them to think that like I'm just some dumb blonde that from Cali moved to New York and doesn't know shit. But I also don't want to come off as super aggressive because I can sense sometimes like maybe can overdo it with my communication, knowing that if men are just looking for facts and information, that I also do need to be assertive in the way that I speak. So, I mean, when you walk into a room full of men, the energy of a woman definitely impacts the whatever. If it's a room of 10 men and one woman, you definitely can amount to at least like match them with like five or like 50% of the energy just by one single woman. Like I swear, one woman can completely divert the energies of males, no matter if it's 10 to 1, 20 to 1. Like just one woman, especially even more so because it's like a magnifying glass. But when a male walks into a room of 10 women, the energy, I just think it's just too much. Like we just hold too much energy inside of us that the male probably can get to like 10% of what we're bringing, just because women do tend to be so emotionally driven, so maybe more present because we're present just in our bodies as is, that it's honestly probably more intimidating for a guy to walk into a room of 10 women than it is for a woman to walk into a room of 10 men. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that would be really interesting. I mean, they as in I don't know, but that men, especially in going out scenes in New York, like if you, well, I also learned this too, but I would, because obviously we'd go out with like our big girl groups and we'd always be like, oh my God, nobody ever comes up to us. What a man is coming up to a girl group of five who are giggling nonstop, laughing, pointing at people, laughing. Like that is the most intimidating scene ever. Like no woman would ever go near. Oh, maybe, I don't know. Maybe if we saw like a guy group, we'd be like, oh, it's so funny. I think we could be like fun and flirty. But a guy approaching a girl group that is nonstop laughing and whispering, oh my God, you just prepare yourself to be absolutely roasted because we will think you're a fucking weirdo. And we'll be like, what the hell are you doing here? Get out. Like, who invited you to this club? Like, no, no, no. These whispers, these secrets, they're not escaping this. Like, ew, you're watching us. You're so weird. Like, so rude. Versus when you go out with like one other girl, then that's when, it's more magnetic, it's more chill, like it's not as intimidating. But on that note as well is I think women can be way more intimidating than men because we typically in society, etc., in business, oh, like women aren't what's going on? Hold the phone. Well, in classic Faith fashion, I didn't hit re-record, so my apologies. But if you want to listen to the full audio, just go to Spotify or Apple and it'll be there. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.